Nice to meet you.
Hello, very good evening, guys. This is the Late Smoke with me, Ray, and this is an episode 58. Now I'm going to give you a few minutes so you can light your cigars and pour your drinks, and hopefully many of you join tonight to listen and, of course, ask questions as usual. So, how is everyone? How's been the week so far? How the preparation for Christmas? New Year, you excited? You working? You're not working anymore? Anything exciting on the pipeline? Smokes, drinks? Come on, let me know. Tonight will be a very, very interesting evening as usual. I promised you last week we're gonna talk about all about top 25 of the Cigar Aficionado, and I'm gonna discuss and analyze every single cigar from the top 25. There will be a lot of ranting tonight as usual. I mean, I'm pretty sure some of the guys who love me having a usual rant, they will be more than happy tonight. As usual, the plan for tonight here, I'm gonna tell you what I'm smoking, what I'm drinking. Of course, there will be a little bit of news section, and then we're gonna move towards the top 25. I don't think there will be a time for the cigars from the vault, but I'm gonna tell you at the end the best and the worst cigars I smoked in the past week. And of course, I'm very happy to answer to any questions, anything you have in mind. I'll be over here. Don't be shy. You know what's the drill. Shoot me the question, even if you need to interrupt me in some of the moments. I will try to answer. Let's see who is live in the chat, who is live in the show. Usually around Christmas and around those times, I'm a little bit skeptical how many people actually wants to listen and watch. But I know even if you don't watch it and listen live, after that there will be plenty of people who are gonna do that on demand or later or tomorrow or even after the show. Right. So let's start. What I'm smoking tonight, what I'm gonna talk about. I mean, as I promised you last week, I'll definitely try to smoke a cigar from the top 25. I don't have a lot of cigars from the current top 25. I mean, there was lots of surprises, even for myself. So tonight I'm going to lit Sancho Panza Bellicoso, which is one of the cigars in the top 25. I'm going to talk much more about the cigar when it's time to discuss it. But until then, I'll briefly introduce you. The cigar, I don't believe there's people who doesn't know the cigar. I mean, this is probably the oldest cigar in the top 25 this year. Sancho Panza Bellicosos, made by Sancho Panza, the brand who is established in Cuba in 1847. And they've been discontinued a bunch of times, then restarted, they start again, they start all over, they finish, they start, they stop. Nowadays, the brand have only one existing Vitola in the current production. That's the Bellicoso, which is a standard Campanes, 50 touring gauge by 5.5 length. And there's another one which officially does not exist, but I was seeing some of them until a year ago, and that was the Non Plus, where officially they discontinued in 2019, but there were plenty of boxes around up to a year ago. So Non Plus is probably still existing, and the only one still in the current production, of course, that's the Bellicoso. Cigar which is a little bit under the radar, a little bit underrated. Not a lot of people rate that cigar highly, and that was one of the big surprises when Afficionado put it in the top 25 this year. But I'll definitely give you much more information when we go to that cigar in the evening. The one I have in my hands, I believe is about 9 to 10 years old, so not a fresh one like the one Afficionado smoked, but not a very old one as well. Personally, never been a huge, massively impressed by those ones. I know Usman highly rate them, and he loved that smoke. But me personally, I prefer other Bellicosos. But hey, I promise you, and again, I don't have lots of cigars. I have actually only 2 cigars from the top 25 this year, which I can smoke, and I'll explain why I don't smoke the other one when we go to that one. But usually, Sancho Panza, it's the character of the Sancho Panza is quite woody, spicy, peppery cigar. Let's see this one. Again, it's I didn't lit it beforehand, before the start, before the show, because it's Cuban 5.5 inches. I don't think it's gonna last even more than an hour, but we'll see. So for the drink tonight, as usual, I have a nice tea pairing. I have a Chinese needle tea, which is a very grassy, very light hay, um, very light tea. If you're curious on that one, I can elaborate, of course. The needle tea, it's usually doesn't need a lot of time in the brew. 2-3 minutes enough. I would say 90 to 95 degrees hot water, and you'll be absolutely fine. I hope it will be a nice pairing with the cigar. I'm hoping here the cigar will be a little bit too spicy, a little bit peppery, so the tea can mellow it down. And yeah, so how's everyone? Who is in the chat? Come on. I've seen a bunch of people already join, and everyone is so shy to say hi tonight. That's very weird. Right, let's move on to some of the topics because there's so much stuff I need to talk about. I'll start with the news. I was hoping last week, I was telling last week there might not be a lot of news now before Christmas, around Christmas, but there's actually quite a few new stuff been released. And even I would say the news of the year it's something which I will mention as well. And this is a topic which I'll continue follow and give you an update, guys. But first, we'll start with the new releases. What's been released in the last week? What's interesting? Something very, very ridiculous as a start. Dunhill introduced new cigar cutter table cigar cutter and a lighter, and for the fraction of $16,500. I mean, come on, $16,500 for a lighter and a cutter. I know it's Dunhill. Dunhill expensive. The lighter itself is 1.6 thousand. The rest is for the cutter. I mean, I'm looking the picture. I'm looking the stuff. It doesn't look like gold or anything. It's just a white metal cutter. One of those 4 different types of cuts with the hand on the side, where you just basically you can snip the cigar by 4 different ways, and container to collect all those caps and everything. But still doesn't explain why this cigar cutter is $16,000. And of course, when I see something that crazy, ridiculously expensive, I need to rant about it. And yeah, then he'll just jump into another category, like the guys from El Septimo. Even I don't think even Dupont or Ele Blue, they do that kind of crazy cutters, for that much money, and they're not even related to any character or any shop exclusive, event exclusive, or anything like that. It's just a plain white silver cutter and a lighter. But I guess Dunhill is a Dunhill. They says this one is limited only to 10 pieces, so probably numbered 1 to 10, yada yada. Which again, crazy overpriced thing. I won't be surprised if it's even made in China. I have no idea about that one, but it won't be much of a surprise if it is actually. Anyway, move on. The next release, now we're going to move out from the accessories, and we're going to talk about some of the cigars. They will be released anytime soon. Very interesting release from Habanos and Cuba. They released a new regional edition. They announced a new regional editions for the Canadian market, which will came up early in the 2026. And this is Fonseca, which is some very unusual brand to have released, especially on the regional stuff. Fonseca is one of those, side brands, none of those mainstream or whatever. They choose Canada. Canada so far have quite a few regional editions. I believe the last one in Canada were Diplomaticus Norteños. This is about 7 or 8 years ago. And Fonseca, this will be the 3rd release for the Fonseca. Fonseca so far have a Belux or Benelux edition 2010 and France 2011. Now, maybe because of the line with the French-speaking countries, etc., they move into Canada with the next regional edition. I'm not massive fan of those ones. I'm not sure how the regional will taste, and we'll see. They announced there will be 6,000 boxes of 10 cigars, so 60,000 cigars, and the size will be Genius. There's a bunch of cigars with that size, Cuiba Genius. Of course, the super popular A. Chapman Connie A, and there's lots of regional editions with that size. So nothing unusual, nothing crazy. I'm hoping the price won't be crazy as well. There's no information on the price so far. I reckon something in the span of about $30 to $35. Sounds logical maybe, but we'll see. When is the official release, I'm probably going to talk about again, and we will know much more about the cigar. Next cigar release, it's something super cool from a very good friend of mine. So Principe Cigar, and the guy behind Darren Chofi, he's releasing another super crazy project called Haberdasher. So Haberdasher will be a pack of cigars, so no boxes, a pack of 5 cigars for $60, and they will be packed with the very old vintage tie. So the tie will be included in the package. The buns will imitate a very old clothing label, and every package will come with a different tie, actual real vintage tie, which make it like super cool to collect those. You can buy 5 different packs with 5 different ties. And Darren is not a stranger to that kind of packaging and that kind of idea. In the past, he used to release cigars with old money. I remember he released cigars with old Russian money. Then he was releasing cigars with which were packed with old train tickets. He used to have train tickets on the band. So super cool project. He used to release a cigar with every band of the cigar have an old piece of watch. The piece of the watch when we show you the numbers and the arrows and everything. He used to take off those from old watches and put them on the band of the cigars. So you buy a box of cigars and inside you have 10 completely different cigars. But yeah, he's a mastermind on that kind of stuff, and I can't wait to see the Haberdasher. So yeah, before we move to the next interesting release, the little update on the cigar. Sancho Panza actually starts very mellow. No issue with the draw. Usually with the Cubans, especially with the tight pointy heads, like Torpedo Perfectus, Figurados, etc. You can have some issues with the draw. This one is so good. The ash is slightly whiter than what you can expect for a Cuban cigar. It's stacking nice, but yeah, so far so good. I'm more surprised so far than actually any disappointment or anything. So I hope we'll carry on like that. Right, next release. Another super cool and super interesting. I mean, I don't know how cool it will be, but it looks interesting. This is the first debut in Europe from a Chinese brand called Great Wall. I mean, I've spoke about Great Wall so many times. I visit the guys in China. Finally, they've managed to find someone who can bring their cigars to Europe. So Great Wall debut in Europe will be called GX Lion. Interesting looking cigar. I'm looking at the pictures even now. Massive lion head on the box in the cigar. The band is the typical Chinese Great Wall, and the second band is literally covering the whole cigar with this lion. I don't know why they put the lion there. I mean, maybe have something to do with them. There's no explanation why the lion. So they announced the cigar will be 20 euro per cigar, 200 for box. The release will be in the Dutch market, so the Dutch importer will bring them into the country. Another interesting thing on the cigar, so the size is very unusual, 6.5 52 Toro. Again, little bit weird Toro, longer Toro for the standard sizes. The blend, of course, not much of a Chinese tobacco in there, Ecuadorian wrapper over Indonesian binder. Fillers from Cameroon, China, and Dominican Republic. So what's the very interesting thing here? Cameroon. Where they get the Cameroon? The recent split between Fuente and Merafel. Maybe Merafel looking to move some of the Cameroon to other interesting countries and markets. So I won't be surprised if China managed to grab some of the Cameroon from Merafel. The fact they use it only in the filler, I mean, they didn't get the high top quality one. I mean, if they can get probably a wrapper, they will do it, but the wrapper will be so much expensive. They said they use international experts to help them with the blend. I mean, most of the time this is complete nonsense, but I doubt Chinese people blend that one. So most likely they have someone who blend them for them. They don't want to announce it who, when, why, etc., etc. They just say international team. And the cigars are made completely in China, in Shifang, which is in the Sichuan province, in the jungle basically. I haven't smoked this one. I smoked a bunch of other stuff, but not this one. So we're looking forward to eventually trying some of those. But if you remember, every time I talk about Great Wall, any idea, any talk, any news about the Great Wall, I've always said it's sooner or later they will go in Europe, and it's just a matter of time. If they go to Europe, they move to the US as well. My topic was something in the span of the next 10 years, but looks like if they start with one country in Europe, they will probably move towards much more in the nearest future. So who knows? We'll see. So that's on the Great Wall release, and then something before we move to the. There's a couple more news before we move to the top 25. Of course, one of them is I don't often slack on my colleagues' reviews and stuff, but this time I need to mention something. The guys from Half Wheel, and specifically Patrick Great, he did a review on El Septimo Doble Gran Reserva, cigar which I talk a lot, a couple of times when they were releasing them, when they announced other stuff. This was the Cigar El Septimo release with they say it's not a Gran Reserva, it's a double Gran Reserva, which nobody know what that means. Only the owners of El Septimo, they need to be more than the others. That's why they say it's double Gran Reserva. The cigar was announced for $125 retail MSRP, and it's been developed with a team of 60 people. They were involved in the blending of the cigar, which I mentioned it even before. I don't know how those 60 people blend one cigar. It's very weird and unusual. But this, everything around El Septimo, it's a bit of a magic black hole, whatever you can call it. So this cigar, Half Wheel has smoked some of them, and they rate the cigar 85. I mean, of course, you need to expect a lot when you're smoking $125 cigar. I mean, I would expect to be like, I don't know, phenomenal is not even the right word. You need to be something over phenomenal. Sensational, phenomenal, spectacular, something like that. I mean, imagine smoking that kind of cigar. For that money, you can buy a box of cigars, box of good cigars. So basically, Half Wheel they were even very polite, and they slack at the cigar and say, when you expect $125 cigar and team of 60 people to blend one cigar, you expect like every puff to bring you to, I don't know, different place in the world or whatever, and it's not. They just say it's just alrightish cigar, nothing crazy. At least the size of the cigar was quite unified. The three cigars they smoked, pretty similar ring gauge, pretty similar weight, pretty similar length. So on that one, they did well. The factory, undisclosed factory, of course, they didn't disclose where they made. They did their job, and they have no issues with that. So of course, I need to comment on the El Septimo. You know how much I like El Septimo. And yeah, right. So the last piece of news, and the one I mentioned, like this will be the news of the year probably. So I've been following this story for a while, not in depth as some other people. I was just mentioning this and that because I don't think it's any relevant to us. But basically, if you're familiar, guys, with the Chinese / Cambodian person who co-own Habanos and all the related companies underneath, all the Allied Cigar Corporation. He couple months ago, he's been basically caught in a fraudulent stuff. He was they confiscate, all the governments confiscate his assets. They seize all his bitcoins. There was something mentioning like 15,000 bitcoins, etc., etc. So it was a guy who's in deep shit in trouble, and now the U.S. government decided to ban every production coming from any factory or any facility where he owns a state or he owns something. And he is one of the co-owners of Casa de Garcia and Flor de Cupan, which is one of the biggest producers for anything made by Altadis. So Altadis are not in a problem because Altadis a separate venue and venture, but every factory which is owned by this guy and produced for Altadis and for other companies, they're not allowed to import their cigars to the US. So what that means, about 40 million cigars, which is a big number. This is roughly 10% of the cigars in the US sold every year. They now are not allowed to be imported in the US literally immediately without any other warning or anything. Nothing from those two factories which is produced should be imported to the US. And it's a big hit for the industry because brands like Monte Cristo, Romeo and Julieta, um, Oyo de Monterrey, anything which is owned by Autodis, this was their main facilities for production, and I don't think they will have any plan B, not at least at the moment. Also, all those people, rollers, blenders, everything, people who work in the factory, in DR and Honduras, they will be left without job basically. And this is a lot. Someone mentioned something around 2,000 people. So I hope there will be some form of solution for those people, and also those big companies which struggle with will struggle with the cigars which they're not allowed to sell anymore. They will find some solution. They will probably, because those are big corporations. They pretty sure they will easily buy another factory and start producing there. But it will take time. It's not going to be overnight recovering. It's not going to happen in a week's time. Maybe next year they will come back with much more interesting stuff. But yeah, if you want, there's a massive article about it from Charlie in Half Wheel. If you want to have a look and read it, it's look very complicated, but it's actually very well made article. And Charlie is a great person to write that kind of stuff and explain it in all the details and all the information. But this time is big. It's not something just a random piece. It's a very complicated news. It will involve a lot of people. Some Charlie mentioned also that probably the biggest issue with the increasing the Cuban prices overnight that many times, so in the last few years, was actually this guy Chen Zi. So now some people start speculating, hey, maybe the Cuban cigars will start declining the prices. It won't be that much of a craziness, but I doubt that will happen. I don't think the demand is so big. I don't think Cuba have any even things to move the prices down and reduce the prices. They don't struggle with that one. They struggle producing cigars fast enough. So we'll never see Cuban cigars getting cheaper and cheaper, unfortunately. Right. You're very quiet tonight, guys. The chat, I guess, the main people who usually comment and chatting, they're probably somewhere celebrating. They already start drinking and they're not around. But anyway, it's time to move on to the main topic tonight, and this is the Cigar Afficionado Top 25, all the analysts and all the thoughts and ideas and basically what I think about it. So of course we'll start from number 25 and we move towards number 1. Of course, I'm not gonna spend so much time on the between 10 and 25. I'm just gonna mention a few notes on what I'm thinking, why do I agree, etc., and then we'll spare more time on the last top 10, as usual every year. So number 25. This year, number 25 in Cigar Aficionado. This is our 85th anniversary Reserva Toro. 6x52. Pretty standard Toro, of course, Honduran cigar, Honduran Puro, made entirely from Honduras tobacco, grown by the Eiroa family. MSRP announced as $20. So about this cigar, I have the opportunity to smoke the Robusto, which is the smaller size. For me, it was very decent cigar. Not my personally favorite one from Aladino, but I would say it was decent enough to say it's a good cigar. I think Aladino have better options for top 25. Maybe they've been honored by the Aficionado with the 85th anniversary of Don Justo Eiroa. They add him into the ranking. As even if it's number 25, it's still a big honor there. But I haven't smoked the Toro. To be honest, I didn't know they make the Toro even. I thought they would be only Robusto, but this was a very hyped cigar from them. Every year they were pushing this cigar around trade shows and events. So it's okay cigar again. Not my favorite from Aladino, but I don't think it's even bad. Number 24, La Aurora Family Creed Series Fuerte Sol Robusto. Yeah, what a name. 5x50 Robusto with a very mixed blend. Wrapper of San Andres, Mexico, binder Nicaragua, fewer Dominica, Nicaragua, US, Pennsylvania, and broadleaf. MSRP $15.50. Honestly, I don't know anything about this cigar. This is one of the very new cigars from La Aurora. I didn't know they were even releasing this one. Very mixed blend. La Aurora usually they're one of the companies who have been on the market for more than 100 years. I'm pretty sure they can create a good cigars. I've never been crazy impressed by La Aurora. Maybe this is the cigar which will change my opinion. But I guess another company which doesn't regularly go into the top 25s, and maybe they want to honor it in some way. Usually, La Aurora is not known to make inexpensive cigars. They have literally one line which is in that price range. This is the other one. I mean, Robusto for $15.50. I would say it's more towards the expensive stuff, and especially for a company who own, is vertically integrated like La Aurora. They own farms, facilities, everything. Recent cigar on $15.50. I don't think is any good, but we'll see. Number 23, super classic, La Aroma de Cuba Robusto. La Aroma de Cuba Robusto, Nicaraguan cigar made by my father and Don Pepin. Connecticut broadleaf wrapper, Nicaraguan fewer binder. Sizes typical for Don Pepin, 5.25 by 54 in gauge for a Robusto. Of course, made in Nicaragua. So this cigar, I believe, has been on the market for over 20 years. So it's not a new cigar. It's probably one of the oldest cigars in this top 25 this year. Extremely well-known classic cigar from Ashton. Of course, made by my father, but the company who owned it is Ashton. I don't think anyone who smokes cigars for long enough, never seen this cigar, never smoked it. I used to smoke this cigar. I still like La Aroma de Cuba. It's one of the brands I enjoy from my father, made by my father. The price of the cigar is $7.25. I mean, it's twice, even more than twice cheaper than the previous 2-3 cigars. So, I mean, you can't get much better cigar for $7-8. I couldn't believe they were that cheap even now, but yeah, those are cigars which are under $10. Big cigar, I mean, 5.554. It's a big chunky Robusto. Will give you hour and something probably. Great cigar, highly recommended. I'm surprised this cigar is not more often in top 25 because it's been a staple. It's been long enough for people to know it and keep buying them. And it's very good to see from my side something like that, which is quite old cigar to be put in some of the rankings, because usually people just put new cigars. They don't give a crap about the old ones, even if the old ones sometimes perform much better than the new ones. But great cigar. Number 22, Olmec Maduro Grande. So Foundation, one of the Foundation cigars as usual. Foundation, they have their part of the top 25. This year this is the Olmec Maduro Grande. By the name, you can probably judge the size. 6x60, massive, chunky, crazy, gordo. Of course, Nicaraguan, made by AJ Fernandez. Wrapper Mexican San Andres, binder fewer Nicaragua. Price $17. For 6x60, I would say it's not a bad price. My issue here is size. I mean, come on, 6x60. I don't think those guys enjoy that much 6x60. And also, in my opinion, the natural, it's much better than the Maduro. I've always said it. I usually I'm a Maduro guy. I like much more bolder, stronger cigars. But in this specific blend of foundation, the Olmec, I think the natural work much better than the Maduro. Fairly new cigar, released a few years ago. Finally start getting accolades. It's a nice box press cigar. I smoked an Olmec literally a few days ago, but I have never smoked 6x60. It's not my usual size. It's not a size I would go for. I recently smoked the Double Corona, which is, I believe, start yawning again. I believe it was 7x54 Double Corona or 752, something like that. Really nice smoke, really good smoke. But again, never smoked 6x60. I don't have it. I don't see in this cigar even. It's not in UK. It's not a cigar which is available in UK. So hopefully, guys, if you smoke that one, enjoy it. And yeah, move on to number 21. CLE Maduro 5x50 or Robusto. CLE Christian Luis Eroa, the nice size of the cigar 5x50, made in Honduras, of course. The blend, the wrapper of Mexican San Andres, binder Honduran, filler Colombia and Honduras. Price $11.06. I haven't smoked this cigar. I'm usually a big fan of the Christian's Maduros. You know, everything Christian do as a Maduro, the 25th anniversary, 20th anniversary, those are phenomenal cigars. So I won't be surprised if it's something similar. The very interesting thing here, one of the filler leaves is from Colombia. You know, not a lot of people use Colombian tobacco. And Christian is probably one of those guys who like to experiment. So another great honor for the Eroa family, because this is the other part of the Eroa family. If you remember, on the top 20, on the number 25 was our dinner, which is Justo and Julio, and Christian is son of Julio and brother of Justo. So another span of the Eroa family. They separate pretty much when they sold the Camacho to Davidoff. But yeah, they in general Christian make really nice cigars. I'm not a big it's not a big surprise for me. He's in the top 25. Looking forward to eventually trying this cigar. As I said, I never smoked that one, and it's something definitely I wanna try. Price seems very reasonable. It's not a crazy overpriced cigar. Even some of his cigars can be a little bit expensive, but this one, $11, spot on. Number 20. Number 20, that's Illusione one-off Black Toro. Cigar is made in Nicaragua by Aganorsa leaf, 100% Nicaraguan puro, 6x52 as a ring gauge, and we have a price tag of $17.60. Personally, I haven't smoked this one. I smoked the standard one-offs, and there's a few other offshoots of the one-off, but I never smoked the black one-off. Can't give you much feedback on the black one. The interesting thing, they made by Aganorsa. Aganorsa, usually they have their own style of making cigars. I reckon this won't be much far. You know, that's nice spiciness in the Corojo. Some of the tobacco they use is quite strong. This one is advertised as a medium to full. I reckon it's not. It doesn't even look that strong. Price $17.60. Usually the Illusione one-offs are one of the expensive lines. No big surprise here. But interesting option, interesting choice for the cigar. I believe this cigar last year was in a few different top 25s in the different medias. Cigar Aficionado didn't mention anything last year, but this year, there we go. It's in the top 25 as number 20. Move on to number 19. Sancho Panza Bellicoso. This is the cigar I smoke now. Not much to say. The only thing they say that basically different. I mean, I mentioned everything about the cigar, size, where it's made, of course. The price on the they announced it is 34 pounds, of course, because they can't put dollars as those are not available in the US. Sounds about right. They mentioned the cigars they smoke is a box code date April 2025, so it's a brand new one. But very, very, I mean, this sounds like this is one of the best Cuban cigars I smoked this year. And putting Sancho Panza Bellicoso was one of the best Cuban cigars someone smoked. Sounds a bit weird. Every every cigar smoker who is more leaning towards the Cuban cigars, if I ask him if we talk about Cuban cigars, they would never mention Sancho Panza Bellicoso. So it's a bit weird. I won't lie. I mean, it's never. If someone was telling me, hey, they're gonna put Sancho Panza Bellicoso, I would be like, no, hell, absolutely no chance. But hey, we've seen everything, so I guess even if it's a surprise, it's not an actual surprise. Number 18, Oliva Serie V Melanio Maduro Robusto. Size 5x52, a little bit of a box press, and of course made by Tabacalera Oliva in Tabulisa, Mexican San Andres wrapper, Nicaraguan filler binder. Price tag of $13-20. This is one of the cigars which is absolutely no surprise. We all know every year Oliva, Melanio, or some form of Melanio is in the top 25. No surprise this year. Melanio Maduro Robusto. It's one of the less known, but I guess when they put every other Melanio in the top 25 in the previous year, they need to put something different. This is basically the same for a few other brands, which we'll discuss a little bit later. I don't think I need to introduce you anything. You need to explain anything about this cigar. It's been on the market for almost 20 years. Even Melanio, the standard Melanio wins Cigar Aficionado about 10 years ago, maybe 12. The Maduro now have his entry as well in the top 25. Again, not much here. Not a cigar I would pick. I'm not massive fan of the Melanio. I prefer the standard V or G or O series, but I guess the Aficionado like this one. The next one, that's a Viaje 15 plus and a 2. Viaje plus 2.5 anniversary silver. Cigar is 6x54 Toro, made by Aganorsa leaf. Again, Nicaraguan puro. I mean, it's very, very good to see a company like Viaje recognized and put in top 25, because this is an extremely small boutique company. They almost anything they produce, it's super small batch, super limited, super rare. And to put something like that in top 25 it's nice. It's great recognition for the company. They've been doing cigars for 15.5 years. As you can see, this is the 15th anniversary. One of those brands who many people ask how they survive, but they have their core followers, people who keep buying Viaje without any question what they release in, good, bad, etc. My experience with Viaje is very mixed. Some of the Viajes are exceptional, phenomenal cigars. Others have lots of issues and problems, especially on the construction. In my opinion, Viaje have, because they use a few different factories in different countries, the main issue they have is from the Honduran make cigars. Aganorsa, every time they make Viaje, I reckon it's a very decent cigar, no construction issues. So I believe this is the same second cigar for Aganorsa factory this year, Illusione and now Viaje. Even if it's not their own cigar, they have two participants as a factory in the top 25. So great surprise to see that. It's not even some of the super expensive Viaje. $16 for a big Toro 6x54. I think it's pretty reasonable. Number 16, Gelis Family Cigars Saunter. Size of the cigar 5.25 by 48. Very interesting Corona, maybe Corona Gorda you can class it. Made in Dominican Republic by Tabacalera La Isla. Wrapper Ecuador, binder Ecuador, filler Dominican Republic, Nicaragua. Very, very mild cigar. So Gelis Family Cigars, another very small and boutique company. I mean, Gelis, if people doesn't know who's Gelis, what's that name of the cigar? I mean, this is basically Warped. Warped as a brand, it's owned by Kyle Gelis, and some moment Kyle decided to release another line called Gelis Family Reserve Family Cigars. Not sure why he did that. Maybe he wants to separate some way from some of the Warps. So Gelis moved almost everything now to be produced by Justus Quesada in Tabacalera La Isla. Great guy who doesn't produce his own cigars. He's only doing blends for other people, cigars for other people. There's a bunch of different people and companies who have cigars made by La Isla. Every year he starts getting now in top 25 with one on another cigar. Interesting surprise. The cigar is Ecuadorian wrapper binder. This is extremely mild, grassy style cigar. You don't see often stuff like that in the rankings. Also, super small batch cigar. I mean, Gellis, I'm not sure how many cigars are made from this one, but usually Warp being quite often in the top 25. I remember the Warp Reserva was number 4 or 5 a few years ago. This was the highest achievement. I think last year he was in 23 as well. Not a massive surprise. The surprise is which cigar. I mean, I would expect some other Warp, but they have this one. So I guess that's the surprise. Right. Number 15. Davidoff Millennium Series Pyramids. 6 and 1/8 by 52. Dominican filler binder and Ecuadorian wrapper. Of course, made in DR by Davidoff. This is another interesting entry. The price of the cigar, 36 and 30. So this is almost $40 cigars, but this is Davidoff. We all know what's the recent ideas with Davidoff and the prices they release. Millennium is actually one of the really, really good blends from the white Davidoffs. That's what I call them. They've been on the market for almost more than 20 years. I've always said if you want a white label Davidoff with a little bit of kick, a little bit of punch, get the Millennium one. Same thing here. They grown some interesting wrapper, especially made for them in Ecuador. It's very dark for Ecuadorian wrapper, but I guess this is Davidoff. Slightly stronger. That's one of the medium to full body cigars. I mean, for white label Davidoff, it's a lot. Great cigar. Surprise for me. Why? I mean, I would expect probably some new Davidoff to get in there. Not one of the well-known and established lines from Davidoff. Again, expensive cigar. We're over $35 already, but not undeserved. Let's call it that way. If I need to pick a bunch of Davidoffs, Millennium probably will be one of the cigars I would pick. So I won't be surprised if it's a really good smoke for the guys from the Afficionado. Number 14, Aging 4 Nicaragua Concerto Impromptu. What a long name. So this cigar by Rafael Nodal, made by AJ Fernandez, of course, the Bacler AJ Fernandez. We're looking for a Nicaraguan Puro filler wrapper binder on Nicaragua 6x52 Torpedo. No massive surprise here. When Rafael Nodal released that cigar, I was pretty sure this will come in the top 25. I mean, you all know the old Cuatro Nicaragua was cigar of the year 2019. So it was just a matter of time, the new one, to get into the ranking. Of course, not a number 1, but maybe in top 10. Well, surprise here at number 14. Those two guys always work together well, AJ Fernandez and Rafael Nodal. The cigar, the difference on the cigar is the wrapper from the other one. The other one, I believe, was Mexican San Andres, and this one have a Criollo 98, which is a very unusual tobacco for AJ Fernandez. He don't often use that kind of tobacco, but I guess he work in his favor. Slightly on the higher price for Aging Room, over $17, but I guess lots of people now start thinking that's a normal price. Number 13, the fatal number 13. La Flor Dominicana 30th anniversary chisel. 6.5 by 58. Monster. Of course, made in Dominican Republic by Tabacalera La Flor. Ecuadorian wrapper, Dominican filler binder. Price tag of $30. So this is a cigar where I was hoping and thinking this will be number 1. It was one of my hidden cigars where I was thinking maybe LFD will get another number 1 with another highly recognizable cigar, because this type of Chizo, I mean, Chizo is a Vitola which is it's been reserved for the La Flor Dominicana. They patent the name, they patent the shape, and this is a massive Chizo. It's 58 ring gauge. This is actually the other cigar I have, and I was thinking to smoke it, but first of all, it's a cigar which will last me 3 hours, and I don't want to light that kind of cigar for this show. And I also want to do my own review. I have only one of those cigars. I don't have more. And that was the reason I didn't smoke it. I choose the Bellicoso. I personally haven't smoked it yet, but everyone I know and I trust, everyone says it's a really, really nice cigar. One of the best cigars released this year. So for me, probably should be a little bit higher on the ranking, not on 13, but I guess maybe they hasn't paid enough, as some people would say. Right, moving on to number 12, and this is Macanudo, a mystery Franz Churchill. 748, slightly fatter Churchill. Wrapper Ecuadorian, binder broadleaf, US broadleaf, filler Brazilian, Dominican, French, US. I mean, crazy mishmash here. Price of $17, made in Honduras by Hatsa Factory. So very unusual to see Macanudo in top 25 in the recent years. I mean, back in the time, Macanudo was a powerhouse, but nowadays, I think almost every new release is just nothing special. I personally haven't smoked the mystery, but a bunch of people, they were trying to convince me this last summer. It's one of the best cigars they smoke. For some reason, I didn't get any of those to smoke. I mean, maybe now I'll try it, but I haven't been convinced enough. So interesting cigar because blend is like 7 different countries. You know, Ecuadorian wrapper, again broadleaf binder, which will give you a lot of kick. Brazilian Arapiaca as a filler. I haven't seen anyone using that kind of filler. Also French tobacco. I mean, who will top France make tobacco for cigars? And it's from southwestern France. They didn't say what is it, whatever it is. Probably just a very small stripe of tobacco in that one. But definitely cigar I want to try now after the ranking. I want to see actually how good is the cigar. Is it good as they say? $17 for Macanudo seems a little bit too high for me. But I guess if you're using that kind of mix of different tobaccos, maybe that put the price up. I mean, buying tobacco from France, it won't be cheap. Who knows? Number 11. Drew Estate Liga Privada T52 Corona Viva. 6x46, elegant smoke. Blend, Connecticut, Habano wrapper, Brazilian binder, Honduran, Nicaraguan filler. Of course, made in Nicaragua by Drew Estate. And price of $16.25. I mean, I don't think there's much need to say on that one. This is an iconic cigar. Another very, very big surprise, getting into top 25 in 2025. Liga Privada T52 has been on the market for almost 20 years, together with number 9. Those are probably what put Drew Estate on the map nowadays. How they start and people realize those guys make really good cigars. Of course, personally, I prefer number 9. T52 is just a tad unbalanced in my opinion, but of course, I don't think it's a bad cigar. It's just personally number 9 is much better. The only difference between them is basically the wrapper, but I think that means bringing a lot of stuff. If you have, I also don't think there's a person who hasn't smoked T52 or number 9, especially if you're into the non-Cuban stuff. Not much I need to say here. Great cigar, even the size is even better. That's 6x46, super elegant, slim, nice. Unfortunately, I don't have any T52s in my collection. That will be probably my cigar of the night if I have. I have only number 9s, even in the same size, but not T52s. But if you haven't smoked it, definitely recommend it. Go get it. Good cigar. Number 10. We are going to the top 10. Okay. Someone's actually asking a question. Let me answer that one before I move to number 10. Apex, good to see you, brother. What about the 10th anniversary Liga Privada? I reckon you're talking about Selección de Mercado. I've always said it. For me, this is probably the most unsuccessful blend by Drew Estate in the recent years. I smoked when they launched it. They launched like a big double Corona. I've smoked that one. I wasn't overly impressed. That's not a Liga style at all. It's very, very different. And if you put some cigar with the name Liga Privada, you're expecting to be in the same way, maybe change a little bit, but not completely drastically everything. Then I smoked the Robusto, same opinion, didn't change. So last one I smoked was the Corona Viva, which is exactly the same size as this one. Corona Viva was actually really nice, but this doesn't change my opinion that it's not Liga Privada cigar. You know, you name it, whatever. You can call it European exclusive, international exclusive, whatever. But this is not a part of the Liga Privada line. And I don't, again, so far from all the three sizes, I like only the Corona Viva. The other two are very blunt, not my style. Yeah, that's my thing. If you ask me for if it does it need to be in the any of the rankings, I don't think so. Number 10. Ferio Tego Timeless Supreme 650. This is Nicaraguan made cigar by Plasencia, 6x50 size, Nicaraguan Puro. Kind of surprise for me. Ferio Tego in top 10. I'm massive fan of this cigar when it was named after part of the Nat Sherman portfolio. You all know the story with the Nat Sherman. They shut down. They've been bought by a cigarette company. They decided to shut down the department with the cigars. Then Michael Herklotz and another gentleman, Brandon Scott, they decided to bought the company who they used to work for. So they bought all the lines from Nat Sherman. They renamed them as the company as a Ferio Tego. They changed the factories and they start making the same blends, theoretically, with different factories. In this case, this is made by Plasencia. Plasencia, phenomenal cigar maker. I personally haven't smoked this timeless and enjoyed. I have few timelesses, but never enjoy any of them that much to say, oh, phenomenal cigar. I prefer much more the older blends, the Dominican ones. Big part of them were made by Quesada. I've even recently smoked on the website another old Nat Sherman, the Epoch. That was phenomenal cigar. So, yeah, I guess maybe it's a surprise this cigar. The price is okay, $12, $12.20. But Michael Herklotz is a very popular persona, a very popular person in the industry. Lots of interviews, lots of showing off on different places. I guess maybe they honor him in that well. I don't think this is a cigar which will make you to remember it when you smoke it, but who knows? The aficionado guys have different palate. Number 9. Of course, Fuente Opus X, Angel Share Reserva de Chateau. There will be no ranking of top 25 without Fuente. There's a bunch of participants like Fuente, Oliva, Padron, Cubans. There will be no top 25 without Fuente. There's a Fuente in this top 25, of course. This is the Angel Share Opus X. Personally, probably the worst Opus X in my opinion. The standard Opus X is much better. The Steno and Siglo much better. Anything, Father and Son. But the Angel Share, it's kind of blunt. And the mildest Opus in my opinion. This is all Dominican tobacco in there. MSRP $24.37. Bullshit. You cannot find this cigar for under $50. It doesn't matter where you're buying it, where you're looking at it. It's not $24. In the US, not in the US, out of the US, in UK, this cigar is something like 80 to 80 pounds. So you see, there's no $24 nonsense. Maybe on the day of the release, this cigar was $24, but I doubt. Size very typical for Fuente, Chateau, Reserva de Chateau, 748, Churchill. I like this cigar in a normal Opus X, not in this Destino and Siglo. Not Destino and Siglo, the Angel Share. But I guess they need to give some other cigar in the ranks on the Fuente. They decide to go for something very unusual. Some of the opposites where they don't rank very often. In my opinion, there's a much better Fuente cigars. I don't know how exceptional need to be this one, but this is a entry in the top 25 because of the courtesy, and especially top 10. They need to have Fuente in top 10. That's why it's there. Number 8. Diplomaticus Genius Exclusivo Funicia. That's a very, 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 very unusual entry in the ranking. This is a Cuban cigar, regional Cuban cigar. I've never seen regional Cuban cigar going in the top 25. It's not something they do. So this is Phoenicia exclusive, 5.5 by 52 ring gauge. Obviously, everything is Cuba. I haven't smoked this cigar, but they announced retail price of $30. Maybe in Cyprus, but everywhere will be more expensive if you find them, of course, because it's exclusively for Phoenicia, so it's only in the Phoenicia regions. Cabinets of 50. This is the other nonsense Cuba start doing much more often. Cabinets of 50. And I was joking with a friend when we were discussing this on the release. That was released actually last Monday, even before the show. I was joking with a friend that maybe they have so much stock of this cigar, they can't sell it, and they pay Cigar Aficionado to include it in the top 25, so they will manage to sell it now. Because I'm pretty sure now, after this cigar has been announced, everyone who likes Cuban cigars will go and wants to buy those. But they've been producing like 4,000 or 5,000 boxes, so 20,000 cigars of this one. And I am pretty sure they haven't sold them. Big surprise. Now we can expect everything from Cigar Aficionado. If they start adding the regionals, there will be much more every year. Number 7, Nasser the Goat by AJ Fernandez, Toro. 6 by 52, Mexican San Andres, Nicaraguan Pure Binder, $16, made by Tabacalera AJ Fernandez. So it's a unusual cigar. So made by AJ Fernandez, but it's actually not on AJ Fernandez. It's a guy who have a retailer in Haiti, which is one of the countries where US even not allow people to enter in the US. I smoked the Nasser the Goat this year on the blind taste for the journal. I give a pretty good rate. So my opinion is a very good cigar. Look nice. The bunt of the cigar is really, really cool with this massive gold, and of course the cigar is called the Gold. So I'm happy with the entrance of that one. Of course, AJ Fernandez already have few cigars in the top 25. He's not part of his own portfolio, but his name is on the cigar. I guess it's more class as its own cigar instead of something like the Aging Room, which is completely different cigar, even if it's produced by him. Number 6, Rocky Patel Emerald Robusto. Of course, they come to the top 25 without Rocky Patel in there. This time they add the Emerald, which is one of their new releases. Robusto 5.5 by 50. Cigar is made by Nicaragua in the smaller production facility actually of Rocky instead of the Honduras. Ecuadorian wrapper, Nicaraguan and Mexican binder, 2 binders, Honduran Nicaragua fillers. $11.75 as a cigar. Personally, haven't smoked this cigar. I've been offered it a bunch of times this summer. For some reason, I didn't get any. Everyone says it's actually okay cigar. Nothing too fancy, too special, but I guess it's a new cigar for Rocky. It's not some completely utter awful cigar, and that's why they include it. Price is okay, $11 for a cigar. I mean, top 10, top 5. I guess it's okay. But Rocky in top 25, they need to be. Even in top 10, that's already one spot for Rocky. Right, another question from Apex. What's my opinion on the people who travel just to get regional? Lots of people do that. And I get it. I mean, if you collect, it's a great idea to collect cigars from different regions. Just travel to the country just to buy a bunch of cigars, even if you can go to the launch of the event when they do those fancy launches. I don't do it. I don't give a crap about regional editions. For me, this is another nonsense. Cuba to release nonsense cigars which maybe they do mistakes with the blend or whatever. I don't believe that originals are much better than the others. It's, again, another way to maybe try new blends, do some trials, release small batches, 15, 20,000 cigars, maybe even less sometimes, 5,000, 10,000 cigars, see what people doing it, if they buying it, if they're liking it, what's the comments, and then take your feedback. Take it like a marketing research. Jacob is laughing. I mean, for me, every regional edition Cuba release is basically marketing research. Let's see what people think about this. A new line, a new size, a new brand, a new lane. And yeah, they do it. They sell it. They make their money, and they get the research data basically. See the feedback. See what people are thinking about. That's it. That's my opinion on the originals. Never care about them. Never will. I have different opinions on the limited edition, the LCD, LCDH, Habano specials, but all the originals. I mean, like a friend of mine says, don't give a fuck about it. Number 5, Trinidad Espiritu, series number 3, Belicoso. 6 and 1, 852 Belicoso size, Mexican wrapper, Nicaraguan filler binder, made by San Lutano Cigars SA, which is basically AJ Fernandez. Very, very weird entry because that's as well Rafael Nadal helping building this cigar with AJ Fernandez, and those guys I've already mentioned they work well together. But it's weird to see non-Cuban Trinidad so high and not even mentioning of Cuban Trinidad. I mean, I like this one more than the Cuban. I'll agree with the Afficionado, but probably we're the only two bunch of people which think the non-Cuban Trinidad is better than the Cuban. Again, so probably people will start slacking me on that one, but again, it's my opinion, of course. This one is a good price, $13. I smoked the 1 and the 2. I haven't smoked the series number 3. They've been exceptional, especially when they released number 1. That was a very nice cigar from AJ Fernandez. I smoked quite a lot of them, even give lots of cigars from those to some of the friends. Jumping on number 5, that's an interesting option, but I guess there's a much more worse cigars which been on number 5 before, so I guess it's a good option. Jacob, overpriced as well, perhaps, maybe. Why you just join? I've announced it last week. They will be very interesting, and I was hoping you to join in on the chat and start slacking with the comments. I'm missing your comments, mate. I start ranting literally from the first minute today. Anyway, I'm sure you're gonna rewatch everything you miss, and you're gonna leave me some comments, of course. Right, moving now to number 4. Cuesta Rey Centro Fino Sun-Grown Pyramid number 9. Great cigar, probably, by JC Newman. 6 1/4 by 52. Typical pyramid cigar, $11.45. Ecuadorian wrapper, Dominican binder filler. Of course, as every Cuesta Rey cigar, rolled and made in Tabacalera Fuente, which basically made another Fuente entry, even not with the Fuente name, but making another Fuente in the top 5. Cuesta Rey, usually one of the oldest brands on the market, owned by JC Newman. I believe the brand started in the 1800s. At some point, JC Newman owned the brand since 1950s, 60s. In 2000 and something, they create the Sun-Grown. I still haven't smoked the Sun-Grown. I recently smoked the Connecticut, which is not a bad cigar, but I personally prefer usually Sun-Grown or even Maduros. Never smoked this one. Probably it's my miss on that one. Definitely I need to grab some of those and try them. I won't be surprised if it's a very good cigar, because usually all the Cuesta Reys, they be very decent, and most of the cigars I smoke with JC Newman, I like the guys. Obviously Fuente make their department with the Dominican cigars, and some of the fancy, most expensive one. This is not any of the expensive ones. It's a very decent price, probably one of the cheapest Fuente actually released. But definitely it's another cigar from the top 25, which I want to try. I want to give it a go, and I will look forward towards that one. Number 3, my favorite entry this year, Tatuaje Black Petit Lancero. Phenomenal cigar. 6 by 38, one of the best sizes in the world. That's a Petit Lancero. 850 Nicaraguan Puro, made by my father. I mean, the black is probably one of the oldest blends Pete Johnson created around 20 years ago. It's been around since then. Worked perfect in any size. I've recently smoked the Family Reserve Black in a review. Fantastic cigar. Unfortunately, I don't have any in this size. I have plenty of blacks in the different sizes. I don't have any Petit Lancero, so I can smoke it tonight and enjoy it. Um, if you haven't smoked this cigar and you don't mind the slimmer engage, because this is literally 738. I mean, it's a shorter Lancero with an inch and a half shorter than the standard Lancero. Just go and grab them. I hope now the hype this will create, because that will be a hype. I'm sure this cigar will be sold off anywhere in a lot of places. If you can find any of the Petit Lancero Black, go grab it. Any box, it's a box worthy cigar. Trust me, it's a phenomenal smoke. You won't be sorry. And you wanna, I mean, 850. Come on, top 3 at top cigar aficionado, and this is the cheapest, second cheapest cigar in the whole top 25, and it's number 3. Number 2, the most expensive cigar, almost, yeah. I think it's the most expensive cigar in this year's ranking. Cohiba Amber. 5.25 by 53. Of course, very typical, weird for Cuba. Made in Cuba, of course. Price 74 pounds 60, which is a little bit of a lie. It's around 90 pounds at the moment. Maybe when they smoke it back in March, they smoke a box of March 2025, maybe. But this is one of the newest standard production Cuban cigars. Of course, as every Cohiba, extremely expensive. I haven't smoked it myself. I've asked a bunch of people which been on the lounge, they smoke it. Every one of them says it's exceptionally good cigar. So maybe it is. But it's something where most of us will never manage to find. Smoke. Again, on this price I can buy easily 5-pack. I mean, imagine $76 pounds, probably close to $90. I can buy a full box of Tatuaje Black Petit Lancero for that money, and I prefer to buy Tatuaje than one cigar of Cohiba. It doesn't matter how special, fancy, pigtail, whatever. I prefer a one box of the next cigar than this one. Even if it's actually very good, as people say. Come on, it's $90 cigar. Doesn't make any sense. And of course, number 1. We are back to number 1. Without any surprise, literally when they announced the number 2 to 10, everyone knew the number 1 will be a Padron. And of course, Padron is number 1. The 60th anniversary, Perfecto in natural. One of the newest released by Padron. 6.5 by 56 ring gauge, Perfecto, full Nicaraguan on theory blend, of course, on theory, because we all know what kind of wrapper Padron use. $75 price tag, really hefty one. The only surprise here, I believe, it's not the Maduro version, it's actually the natural. I don't know who smoked the natural from Padron, but not me. Everyone who smoked the Maduro says it's phenomenal. Everyone who smoked, same people who smoke the natural, says it's just another cigar. Very expensive, but we all know how it's with the fancy Padrons, especially something like that, 60th anniversary. It's not a cigar I've smoked. I don't have any of that one. I doubt I'm gonna go and find some, because I just don't care about that kind of expensive cigars. Yeah, no surprise, literally. We all know. So in overall this year in the top 25, I don't think there's a lot of surprises. We have Padron as number 1. We have Fuente in top 10, 2 Fuentes in top 10. We have My Father around there. We have JC Newman on another Fuente. We have Rocky Patel, of course. We have Oliva. Probably, if I need to think of the biggest surprise of the top 25 as the entries, maybe I can put there Aladino. Aladino is a surprise for me, I'll be honest with you. Most of the others, guys, they've been in some form or shape in the top 25. Macanudo is another one which I'm surprised nowadays. So Jacob asked, Tatuaje Black, Corona Grande, any good? Any black is good. If you can find them, just get them. I am a big fan of the black, get them. So yeah, in general, not massive, lots of surprises. Cigar Aficionado for another year, they just show that they literally care only about the people who pay, who advertise there. They don't care about people's opinion. They smoke very random cigars. They start adding very random cigars in the ranking. I mean, come on, not Cuba, Diplomatic Original Edition. Who do that? They even said we'd never do that, but this year we decide to do it. Why? You don't have any other cigars to smoke. You decide to add originals and fancy that kind of fancy editions. Definitely, there will be much more interesting rankings. Next year, probably I'll do some of the magazines. I've already seen a few other releases, but today I want to separate it and keep it just for Cigar Aficionado, to be a nice ranting session where I'm ranting all about Cigar Aficionado as usual. Of course, they will prize the hand that feeds them. Yes. But what I don't understand, why so many people care about this ranking. I do the ranking especially for the aficionado because I know the interest people have on that one. But if they care only about those people, why everyone is so precious on them? I mean, I know every time the number one cigar is completely sold out for months after that. And I guess this time will be the same with the Padron. If that Padron hasn't been sold, because that's expensive cigar, but still pretty much sold out everywhere, it'll be almost impossible to find, especially on the price they announced it, $75. No chance finding this cigar on that price. So yeah, I mean, you've been this very quiet tonight, unusual. Maybe you're all interested, maybe you're all listening only. Definitely next week we're gonna be back with another episode and another portion of the top 25s, of course, with all the news and everything. There will be much more interesting conversations, I believe, next week with some of the other medias, not with the Aficionado, but Aficionado is done. No surprise this year, at least not for me. I don't know how it's for you guys, but Padron 68 is not a surprise. It's number one. We'll be surprised if Tatuaje is number one, even if Tatuaje is every year in the top 25, but they never get close to number one. I think they've been number two once, and this is the second time they've been that close. 3 Cuban cigars in the ranking. Pretty standard. We have Cohiba, we have Diplomatic Original, and we have Sancho Panza. I'm on the last part of my Sancho Panza. It's alright cigar. Is it in top 25? No, is it not even in top 50 in the year? But yeah, let me know what you're thinking. I'm looking forward to your comments and what's your thoughts on the top 25. As usual, much appreciate everyone who was commenting, watching, who will watch and listen later. I will see you all next week. Next Monday will be 29th of December, the last show for the year. I will be online, of course, 8 p.m. as usual. We're going to talk about all kind of interesting stuff through the year. I will try to recoup everything what happened during that year, all the interesting events, facts, shows. We'll add some of the top 25s. I don't know what I'm going to smoke yet, as usual. And yeah, no, appreciate all your time, guys. And I hope I will see you all next week at the same time, 8 p.m. Monday at the Late Smoke with me. And until then, smoke your cigars. Tomorrow's never given. And I wish you all really nice Christmas. Christmas is just in a few days. Don't be naughty. Smoke your cigars. Hope you're going to have lots of new cigars around Christmas. Lots of new drinks. You have enough time to be sober for the show next week. And yeah, stay smoky. I'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.